Welcome back to Music Theory 1. This is Chapter 2, Notes on the Stave. This is a quick video, not as long as the last one. We had a lot of ground to cover. This is basically about musical handwriting. So let's get started. So as the exercise material notes, the easiest note to draw is the semibrief, the whole note, as we might remember it from its American name. If you draw it on a line, the line must go exactly through the middle, and the semibrief, the whole note, should only cover half the space on either side. So not too low, not too high, Goldilocks style, just right. And if you draw it in a space, it must not overlap a line because it is confusing to read, as noted. Okay. I think this is relatively uncontroversial. A nice sharp pencil will help you. These 5 lines together are called the stave, or the staff. You can use either method. Okay. So the first exercise just tells us to fill in all the gaps between these notes. Now these notes, because there's no clef, we actually don't know what the pitch of these notes should be. We're just handwriting practice, so you can do this in your copy of the book. Going up the lines and the spaces. They've allowed lots of space in case you get things wrong. So pretty uncontroversial there, I reckon. Just neat handwriting required. Okay. So sometimes we need to go beyond these 5 lines. There are 5 lines and 5 spaces. If you count hanging below the edge, you might be able to say that there are actually 7 notes possible in the spaces and obviously 5 lines, so 12 notes that you can fit on a staff. But we want to go beyond those sometimes, and when we do that we use these things called ledger lines, which I'm going to show you next. The next little exercise, here it is. You can draw notes higher or lower than the 5 stave lines by drawing another line or lines. Each note has its own line. You do not connect them. And you do not draw a line over the note above the stave nor underneath a note just below the stave, as shown. You can draw more than one line above or below the stave, but in grade 1 only one line above or below the stave is used, so you don't need to worry about the rest now. When we come back for grade 2, for Music Theory 2, we'll go into how you do multiple ledger lines. It's not very difficult, can be done. And exercise 2, a very easy question given that the answer is written just above these lines, are indeed called ledger lines. Exactly why they're called that I can't tell you. It might be because it makes the notes legible, or you're adding to a ledger, like in accountancy, but I don't know for sure. So that is pretty uncontroversial, I reckon. Now, let's look at what happens if we want to draw half notes, minims, crotchets, quarter notes, or eighth notes, otherwise known as quavers, because they have more than just the head. Nope, that's the previous material. Let's have actually what the new stuff is. So here we go. So we've got some information here we prepared earlier. Like semibriefs, whole notes, the note heads of minims, half notes, and shorter notes are also oval rather than completely round, but they're a little smaller. Some people draw black note heads as single slanting slopes like these, but these are not easy to read and can lead to mistakes according to the book. I disagree. I can read those perfectly, but up to you. A little bit of roundness is quite nice. The stem of a note goes down on the left and up on the right. In modern period, in older periods, if you look at the manuscripts of Bach and Mozart, they're pretty free and easy with that, but we have developed some stronger handwriting rules and stronger rules for printing music. The stems of notes on the top 2 lines go down, the stems of notes on the bottom 2 lines go up, the stems of notes on the middle line may go up or down. And notice how long the stems are. Don't draw them too long or too short, it starts to just look a bit weird. And they should stand straight rather than being slanted. So there are some good and bad examples there for you. Notice in the middle, we can go up or down. This seems all pretty uncontroversial to me. So let's go to the exercises. Here they are. So we have to draw a crotchet quarter note on every line. So sharp pencils at the ready. We can start at the top or the bottom. Let's start at the top, why not? So a nice kind of oval and the stem going down. And it did say every line, so don't draw them in the spaces. Now this one could go up or down. So we could have this one. And you might be thinking, well, how do you choose? Well, composers and music typesetters generally choose what looks good in the rest of the phrase. It looks a little bit weird if there's a note that's going up and everything else is going down. That one's gone a little high, didn't it? There we go. So those are your crotchet notes on every line. This is draw a minimum half note in every space. So now, does the top space count as a space if it's on top of the line? Interesting question. I'm going to say yes, it does for now. So we'll draw that one. But maybe you disagree with that exact wording, depending on how you understand every space. Does that top count as space? It's good handwriting practice either way. And these won't be required in the exams. This is still preliminary skills. So it's good to just practice. So there you go. Those are your half notes in every space. As I mentioned when we looked at the time values, printed music, quavers, we have these curvy tails, but you can draw them with straight tails if you prefer. Remember that the tail always goes on the right hand side. This is very simple. This is because in the old days with quill pens and people writing only with their right hands, as you moved to the right you didn't want to smudge. So if you drew them to the left there's a real risk of going over with your hand and smudging the ink. So add stems and tails to each note to turn it into a quaver. You can do straight tails or curvy tails. I'll do a mixture so you can see how it works. So let's have a nice curvy tail on that one. Let's do a straight tail on this one. Let's do a straight tail on this one. And let's do a curvy tail on this one going up, just so you can see drawing it. This is the sort of thing like handwriting anything. When you first do it, it'll be a bit messy. The more you practice, the neater it will get. So a little mixture of curly and straight tails there. Just experiment freely. And, use your eraser until you're happy. It's good practice. Okay, so some rather uncontroversial exercises there, and that's actually it for this little video. Nice little short one. See you next time for chapter 3, where we're going to be learning about clefs.